227 was one of the most beloved sitcoms of the 1980s and a monster hit for NBC during its 1985 to 1990 run. Initially a vehicle for the Jeffersons star Marla Gibbs, 227 was also a launching pad for Regina King and Jackée Harry.
Name something you must have in order to live.
A man.
227 was so popular that NBC tried to launch 2 spin-offs with Backdoor Pilot episodes. One Backdoor Pilot is something Jackée fans would have loved. A spin-off for her breakout character, Sandra.
Ooh, sometimes I'm so good I even impress myself.
Why didn't the spin-offs happen? And how did behind-the-scenes drama factor into Jackée going solo? Find out on Behind the Backdoor Pilot 227. Welcome to Atomic Abe's Behind the Backdoor Pilot, the series that takes a deep dive into episodes of beloved TV shows that are actually secret pilots for potential spin-offs. Subscribe to Atomic Abe to watch our episodes on Married with Children, Who's the Boss, and more. Hit that bell to be notified when new episodes drop. Before it was a hit sitcom, 227 began life as an acclaimed stage play. Playwright Christine Houston based 227 on the friends and family she grew up with in 1950s Chicago. The title comes from the number of the building she grew up in. Houston won a Norman Lear Playwriting Award, which led to writing gigs on The Jeffersons and other sitcoms. After The Jeffersons ended, Marla Gibbs staged a production of 227 at her theater company in Los Angeles. Gibbs played lead character Mary Jenkins and starred opposite her future TV husband, Hal Williams.
Yeah, we did it as a play.
Yes.
And we did it for 6 months. And in the meantime, everybody came to see it, including the head of NBC.
Both NBC and Norman Lear saw sitcom potential in the play's characters and humor, and developed 227 as a vehicle for Gibbs. Christine Houston was brought on as a writer and became the first black woman to have a hand in creating a network sitcom. NBC shortened the play's title to 227. And changed the setting from 1950s Chicago to 1980s Washington, D.C. Marla Gibbs was instrumental in assembling the stellar cast. She brought in Hal Williams, her co-star from the play, and went to bat for Jackée Harry to play Sandra, despite NBC wanting another actress in the role.
They kept saying the network wants this person, and I said, I want Jackée.
Rounding out the cast was Regina King as Lester and Mary's daughter Brenda, Sesame Street favorite Elena Reed Hall as Rose, and Helen Martin from TV's Good Times as the no-nonsense Pearl. You might also know Helen Martin from one of the greatest Conan clips of all time.
How did you feel about that when they came to you and said you're going to play a pot-smoking granny?
I love Reefer.
Also in the cast was Curtis Baldwin, who played Pearl's grandson, Calvin. Oh, and you might remember Kia Goodwin as Rose's daughter, Tiffany, or maybe you don't since she vanished from 227 after the 3rd season. She's like Judy Winslow, the young daughter from Family Matters who went upstairs and was never seen again. There was also Alexandria, the plucky kid who lived with the Jenkins family in season 4. She didn't last long either. 227 premiered in September of 1985. It was a ratings smash, and quickly became a staple of NBC's Saturday night sitcom lineup.
Saturday.
The show drew critical acclaim and guest stars ranging from the Supremes to Pee Wee Herman.
This is Pee Wee Herman.
Great. Who we need is Sylvester Stallone.
By the 2nd season, the 227 producers were ready to launch a spin-off with a backdoor pilot episode. TV producers often use backdoor pilots to test out new concepts and characters under the guise of a seemingly normal episode of a hit series. In many cases, the new concept has very little to do with the show it's spinning off from. This was the case when The Nanny tried to launch a spin-off for the wacky characters at Fran's hair salon. Spoiler alert, it didn't work.
It's over. We split up. No, don't say that!
227 writer Ron Bloomberg pitched NBC on the concept of a sitcom set at a diner that would combine the camaraderie of Cheers with the topical humor of The Tonight Show. 227 often combined family comedy with relevant social issues.
Bums are living in my building?
They're not bums, they're people.
So it makes sense that the producers would use the show to test out a spin-off with topical humor. The episode The Audit kicks off with Lester and Mary dealing with a major tax headache.
Mayor, we are going to an IRS audit, not planning a romantic evening. Put on something that says old, worn, and these folks are struggling.
Rose and Pearl drop by to wish them luck.
We just dropped by to wish you guys good luck.
Or goodbye.
And that's the last we see of Rose and Pearl for the rest of the episode. From the first scene, the writers are really trying to make the whole sitcom set at a coffee shop premise happen.
But I am in a bit of a rush.
Me too. I got a big luncheon date.
They got a coffee shop in the building. We can grab something to eat there.
We then go to the aforementioned coffee shop and meet a brand new cast of characters. There's Toots, the surly owner, played by beloved comedian Red Buttons. You know he's beloved since he enters to applause. There's Leonard and Chris, who are like Norm and Cliff, if you swapped hangovers for coffee breath.
So what took so long with French toast, huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. The Concorde arrived late from Marseille.
Right away, we get the template for how this spin-off would work. A character launches into a topic that's in the news.
You know, I saw that movie Platoon last night.
And zingers ensue.
You know that it was nominated for 8 Academy Awards and 3 Purple Hearts.
Back in 1987, this joke was fairly relevant as the episode aired a month before the Oscars, where Platoon took home Best Picture.
And the winner is Platoon.
But viewed today in a 227 binge watch, the gag is pretty dated. And Toots doesn't even do the Platoon pose. Leonard is played by Rick Duckerman, who you might recognize from The Burbs and Groundhog Day.
This is Gus. He hates his life here. He wishes he stayed in the Navy.
Well, I could have retired on half pay after 20 years.
Next, we meet slick stockbroker Perry.
The market is down.
54 points.
He's played by David Leisure? Joe Isuzu? That guy was everywhere in the 80s. The Audit wasn't David Leisure's first backdoor pilot rodeo. He was also in the Golden Girls episode that launched Empty Nest.
Want to know who I spent the night with?
No, Oliver.
The cabin crew of Lufthansa.
You can learn all about that right here on Atomic Abe. Toots has so many opinions on Wall Street, he's about to occupy his own diner.
That's because of all the insider scandals. Everybody else giving somebody else a tip. It's disgusting.
Leisure's role as a stressed-out Gordon Gekko type is oddly prescient, considering this episode aired a few months before the famed Black Monday stock market crash of 1987. Had the show gone to series, would Perry have taken a dive out of Toots's window?
You know, Perry, I did hear something about a crash.
I'm sure it's nothing.
The ripped from the headlines jokes keep coming as Toots bums everyone out with a rant about acid rain.
You know that there are holes up there in the atmosphere with pollutants seeping through, contaminating our soil, our plants, our chickens.
Imagine tuning in for a hilarious new episode of 227 and getting an old white guy ranting about acid rain. People probably thought 227 was preempted for the McLaughlin group.
They use progressive.
It's like the writers just picked up the paper on show day and wrote gags about whatever was on the front page. As the kid in this 1980s news clip can attest, acid rain was a hot-button issue at the time.
Why isn't the government doing much about acid rain?
Don't worry, 80s kid. The environment is doing just fine. We also meet Toots' long-suffering wife, Cindy, played by TV vet Louise Troy.
Oh, honey, your acid rain's giving them acid indigestion.
Toots and Cindy have a dynamic that can be best described as the honeymooners in hell.
You know, you gotta quit bugging me. If not, tonight, I wear pajamas to bed.
Weird thread. Does Toots sleep in the nude? Mary and Lester, the leads of the show, finally arrive to get ready for their meeting with the IRS. Folks watching at home must have been like, when are we getting to the audit factory?
When are they gonna get to the fireworks factory?
But before we get to Mary and Lester's very serious tax problem, the diner gang has some choice riffs about Mario Cuomo's presidential race.
He's Italian. He could never have won.
Sure he could. People'd be afraid not to vote for him.
Thankfully, the Cuomos were never in the news again. We then meet Robert, an opinionated customer who works above Toots' coffee shop. He's played by Ron Glass, known for his roles on Barney Miller and Firefly. He also played Felix in the new Odd Couple and had the same problem as Lester and Mary.
My taxes are being investigated.
Robert launches into a topical routine of his own about the Supreme Court ruling on maternity leave for working women. This episode is like a Wikipedia article for 1987.
According to the Supreme Court, any working woman that gets pregnant can take time off, and then when she gets ready, you have to give her her job back.
Mary isn't having Robert's loud public sexism and offers some wisdom.
You think getting pregnant is a vacation? You think with your rear.
Naturally, Mary gets the best lines. Finally, the episode gets back to the audit plotline that's been dangling since Act 1. And wouldn't you know it, Robert turns out to be Mary and Lester's IRS agent. Hey, remember Sandra's lunch date? Yeah, it's at the coffee shop. Sandra enters like she's a regular.
You haven't been in for 2 weeks. Where you been keeping yourself?
Oh, if I told you, you could write a book about it.
Evening, everybody.
Even though neither Toots nor his diner has ever been mentioned on the show before.
The minute you walk in, you make my day.
Cindy ropes Sandra into a riff about America.
I've been watching that series, America. I think it's very scary.
No, not America the country, or even America the rock band. America with a K, the 1987 TV miniseries about Russia taking over the United States. Remember when people talked about network TV shows the way they do streaming series? Different times.
The only thing that scares me is that the Russians may make Chris Christopherson shave off his beard.
Sandra and Chris Christopherson would have made quite the 80s power couple. Sandra and Toots also chat about Nancy Reagan's feud with White House Chief of Staff Donald Regan.
You know, Ronnie's got a little problem. He's got to let one of them go.
Yeah, well, she's his wife. Sayonara, Don.
SNL tackled this one by having Nancy and Donald make out.
See, they're getting along just fine.
So, are Mary and Lester going to jail or what?
Unfortunately, however, you have insufficient records.
Luckily, Sandra shows up to save the day.
Bobby, I've been waiting downstairs for 20 minutes.
Yes, Sandra's hot date is with stuffy Robert. She could do a lot better. Sandra vouches for Lester and Mary's business party expense write-off.
You remember that business party I had in 1983?
Were you actually at this party?
Yes, it's true. It was so boring. A lot of people talking about digging, dredging, and draining.
The audit is over.
And the episode ends with the promise of more adventures of Robert the IRS agent and his coffee shop pals.
Mr. and Mrs. Jenkins, see you next year.
The Audit Backdoor Pilot was a unique sitcom experiment for NBC. Network president Brandon Tartikoff was the king of innovative, risk-taking television and of cameos on his network's shows.
I'm Brandon Tartikoff, chairman of NBC Entertainment. Don't do drugs.
In order to make the humor as topical as possible, Tartikoff let the 227 producers tape the Audit episode a mere 28 hours before it aired. Marla Gibbs liked the idea of doing an almost live episode, as the cast was used to improvising on set. The Audit was touted in the press as being something that will have the energy of a Broadway play. Ultimately, NBC decided that producing a sitcom like a late-night talk show was too difficult.
No one bothered to call me.
Network sitcoms typically take several weeks to film an episode, and keeping up with the pace of a late-night comedy show proved untenable. Also, a sitcom based around Toots' Diner is a very thin premise for a 227 spinoff. Other than the possibility of Mary and Sandra popping in for some topical banter, the Backdoor Pilot has very little connection to the family comedy of 227. The Diner Gang doesn't have much in the way of personality. They're just mouthpieces for whatever gags of the day the writers wanted to tackle. While NBC passed on the spinoff, Ron Glass and his character Robert returned to 227 in the Season 3 episode, There Goes the Building.
You remember Robert Stone from the IRS? He audited your tax return.
Still dating Sandra, Robert attempted to buy 227 and level it for condos.
So I'm going to tear this old building down and build you a new one.
The character's shift from stuffy IRS agent to stuffy real estate magnate was kind of a lateral move.
Robert, you told me you wouldn't raise the rent on the building.
And I won't on this building. Of course, this building is history.
Fun fact, after 227 ended, Ron Glass starred in the short-lived sitcom Rhythm and Blues, which aired during NBC's must-see TV lineup. The premise about a white guy who gets hired at a black radio station is as flat and dated as Crystal Pepsi. 227's second attempt at a backdoor pilot was a much better idea, a Sandra spinoff.
Let's just say I know how to handle a hungry man.
Jackée Harry was the perfect foil for Marla Gibbs.
I understand you had a little chat with my daughter today.
The girl had a man problem, so of course she couldn't come to you.
Jackée was initially only set to appear on 7 episodes of 227, but NBC president Brandon Tartikoff extended her contract to a series regular during the filming of the pilot. She based the character of Sandra on a friend from high school, as well as classic icons Mae West and Lucille Ball.
And so I had my girlfriend's voice, Valjean Dean, from high school, and Mae West and Lucille Ball. I just put them all together.
Put them all together.
Jackée was a breakout star. She was everywhere in the 80s, appearing on Saturday morning TV preview specials.
You know, Mr. Seville, I've always dreamt of being a torch singer.
And gracing magazine covers. In 1987, Jackée won the Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series.
I wonder if I get paid more money for this.
She was the first black actress to win the award, which wouldn't happen again until Cheryl Lee Ralph won in 2022 for Abbott Elementary.
This is what believing looks like.
Jackée congratulated Cheryl Lee Ralph on her Emmy win and revealed that Ralph was in fact NBC's first choice to play Sandra. Jackée was such a staple on NBC, she announced the network's plan to move primetime to 7:30 p.m.
NBC is moving prime time to 7:30 with comedies every night.
And sang the famous Come Home to NBC song from the network's 1987 promo. Home to NBC! But behind the scenes at 227, things were getting tense.
Because when I become the owner of this building, there are going to be a lot of changes around here.
Marla Gibbs felt overshadowed on her own show by Jackae's rising star.
I wasn't thinking about stealing a show.
Right.
That's what people don't get.
At the end of season 4, the decision was made to give Jackée and Sandra a 227 spinoff.
A work of art.
You should be on a pedestal.
In a clear attempt to capitalize on the star's popularity, the pilot was called Jackée instead of Sandra. That would be like if the Friends spinoff Joey was called LeBlanc. On May 11th, 1989, the Jackée pilot aired as a special preview during NBC's Thursday night lineup. It even got the plum post-Cosby Show slot. The Jackée pilot episode kicks off with its own opening theme song. Love that smooth jazz sax. The cast of the potential Sandra spinoff is introduced 80s mall glamour shots style. Right away, we find out that Sandra has left 227 and moved to the Big Apple for a job working on film sets.
There seems to be a little mix-up concerning the delivery of my furniture.
But it turns out her new boss is more Larry Flint than Steven Spielberg.
But I think I'd be way too nervous to actually be in a porno movie.
Oh, look, it's no big deal. All you got, what the hell you mean porno movie?
NYC, aka Fear City, is not treating Sandra well.
Let me guess. You're new in town, right?
Yeah, but if you're gonna celebrate by snatching my purse, macing me, and throwing me to the trunk of an abandoned vehicle, you have to take a number.
Thankfully, her neighbor Stephanie gives Sandra a lead on a job where she's sure to be surrounded by hunky men.
I need an assistant manager at the health club I do nails at.
We then go to Sensations, a health club straight out of a Jane Fonda workout tape, and meet the cast of the potential spinoff. There's Margaret, the surly receptionist. She's played by deadpan 80s comedy staple Margaret Smith.
Lately, I hate people.
Sven, the hunky snack bar attendant.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just thinking of suitable names for blonde-haired black children.
Fun fact, Dan Blom also played a character named Sven on Married with Children.
Who's the guy with the backpack shaped like my wife?
He really cornered the market on 80s hunks with vague European origins.
That's enough!
Wait, does that mean 227 and Married with Children are in the same universe? There's also Zoltan, yes, Zoltan, the club's nail stylist, who has a way with the ladies. Or so he thinks.
God, you're a pig.
Yeah, we're painting on the fence of my summer home, baby.
We also meet Nathan, the boss of Sensations, who Sandra sweet talks into giving her a job.
I tell you what I'm gonna do, Miss Clark. I'm
I'm gonna give you a trial run at the job. Just a trial.
Just like how NBC gave the Sandra spinoff a trial run. Very meta, writers. There's also a cameo from B-movie bombshell Terry Weigel, because, well, it's the 80s.
Love those earrings.
Sandra meets Stephanie's boyfriend, Roger,
Roger, Sandra.
Hi, Sandra. Heard a lot about you.
who, in a very convoluted plot twist, is using Stephanie in order to get stock tips from her wealthy customers.
We don't know anything about Fogelthorpe Enterprises, even if they do have exclusive rights on the patent of this so-called wonder drug.
Sandra overhears Roger's shady plan.
A few more tips like the last two from these old biddies, and we can start shopping for an island.
And is not having his nonsense.
Why don't you give Stephanie a break and tell her what you're doing?
Instead of thanking Sandra, Stephanie is all, "Hey, I'm walking here."
So he used me. People use people. You're never gonna make it. Not here.
But Sandra teaches Stephanie a lesson in self-respect, 227 style.
But the one thing she had that nobody can take is her self-respect. You know who that woman is?
Yeah, you.
No, me.
Sandra lets us know she'll be okay in her new city.
Oh, I'm gonna make it all right. That's the difference between us. I live life. I don't let life live me.
And reveals her secret plan.
But when I see someone getting in trouble, I'm gonna get involved. Real involved. Now that's my sister. Isn't that right, Pearl?
It's all in a day's work, Sandra.
Yes, Sandra recruited Pearl to pose as a customer for Roger to eavesdrop on.
We don't know anything about Fogelthorpe Enterprises, even if they do have exclusive rights.
Sandra should be a detective. She always gets her man. The pilot ends with Sandra sharing a laugh with friends both new and old. Stephanie seems to have gotten over her shady boyfriend pretty fast. The Jackée pilot sets up the template for the Sandra spinoff. Sandra would help out her coworkers and get into hijinks while taking in the male eye candy. There's also a will they or won't they situation with Sandra and the annoying Zoltan.
I thought I'd just drop by out of the kindness of my heart.
I'd say that's a won't they. But despite the potential for wacky big city hijinks and more bizarre 227 cameos, NBC decided to not pick up Jackée for the fall 1989 season. Jackée told the Washington Post that she felt the pilot's production was rushed because, quote, "We were doing 227 and a movie all at the same time." She also believed the Sandra spinoff lacked a creative support system, as 227 writer-producer Michael Moyer had moved on to co-create Married with Children.
Michael Moyer, who did Married with Children, he got married and went off someplace else, so I didn't have anybody in place to continue that vision.
Oddly, the 227 writers never addressed Sandra's move to New York City. In the episode prior to the Jackée pilot, the friends get locked in the laundry room and reminisce about how they all arrived at 227. The episode is also Rob Schneider's TV debut. He plays an annoying hippie.
My band and I rehearse every night. If you find that inconvenient, I have a 3-year lease.
The season 4 finale of 227 aired a couple of days after the Jackée pilot premiered, with Sandra still living in the building. She even banters with the new landlord's representative, played by Kelsey Grammer.
Do you know I take care of my grandmother, support my mother, and I'm sending her brother through Oxford?
Why are you telling me this?
So you know why I'm late with my rent every month.
Despite the Jackée pilot not going to series, its star was still red hot. The same year the Jackée pilot aired, she also starred in an NBC TV movie as twins.
It's a Jackée world premiere.
That girl.
Jackée wants to double your pleasure Sunday.
Double Your Pleasure was inspired by the 227 episode of the same name, where Jackée played both Sandra and her lookalike cousin, Conchita.
Look at you! You're gorgeous.
No, Sandra, you were always the prettier one.
Well, let's call it a draw.
After the Sandra spinoff wasn't picked up, Jackée shot another pilot where she played an aspiring singer opposite Corinne Bohrer. You might remember her from the sitcom Free Spirit and a million other shows and movies. Jackée returned to 227 for season 5, but she only stayed for 10 more episodes and was billed as a special guest star. The episode Perfume Game was Jackée's final appearance on 227.
You actually put principle before pleasure.
I did.
After Jackée left the show, Sandra was never mentioned again.
I don't know.
Die kenne ich nicht.
The 5th season of 227 struggled in the ratings. Paul Winfield joined the cast as the new landlord, along with new tenants Tukey Smith, Stoney Jackson, and Barry Sobel. You know a sitcom is in trouble when they add a goofy white guy.
I'll be right back. I'm going for a walk.
On May 6th, 1990, 227 said farewell with an It's a Wonderful Life style episode that finds Mary dreaming about being homeless.
But don't you recognize me? It's your baby, your wife.
My wife may look bad in the morning, but not that bad.
When 227 hit syndicated reruns and later streaming, the Jackée pilot was retroactively added as a season 4 episode. You may have noticed that the episode has a different theme song. Marla Gibbs and Jackée Harry eventually patched up their differences.
Let's bury the hatchet.
Marla and I are like great friends. I've come full circle with her.
In recent years, they've brought the old Sandra and Mary magic to everything from Days of Our Lives.
What the hell are you doing here? Excuse me? Is that how you greet your mama?
To a 227 spoof on the HBO series A Black Lady Sketch Show. The cast of 227 is still close today and gets together for reunions. Marla Gibbs gave 227 fans a nod when she appeared opposite Regina King on Southland.
I'm Detective Lydia Adams.
Brenda!
Now 91, Marla Gibbs doesn't rule out the possibility of a 227 reboot. That is, if Regina King can find time in her award-winning schedule.
I doubt if Regina has time to do a rewrite.
Right,
she's so busy.
But now she's this great actress, and we're just so proud of you. I
We're
just want to
still
tell you
waiting
that.
for her to call us.
The cast's love and admiration for each other proves that, as the theme song says, if the number is 227, there's no place like home.
I mean, no place, child.
Like this video? Give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Atomic Abe for more episodes of Behind the Backdoor Pilot. Like our look at the episode of Home Improvement that launched a spin-off that Dave Chappelle doesn't want you to see.
I just want to state publicly that I'm sorry.